All right. Nobody's here. Nobody's here. But that's okay, because I don't know. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Am I ready to explain that yet? Or should I wait? I think I'll wait. Keep you coming back. This one is, I've been waiting to do this one for a long time. And the fact that nobody's here, I'm going to use that to my advantage. Yeah. Let's get picking from this bucket. I didn't really think this through, making a big ass thing. This one. Imagine that. Imagine that. Before I start with this one, I want to say a few things. First off is, I don't speak to harm. I don't write to destroy. But I sure as hell do not lean on fallen structures. I want to say that one more time. I don't speak to harm. I don't write to destroy. But I sure as hell do not lean on fallen structures. Imagine that. Family. Imagine that. Mama. Nah, that's for another stage. That's for another day. Happy birthday. Well, actually, no, I want to say one more thing before I really start. And I don't like the need or feeling the need to do this, but I do have a heart. So if you know, you know. And if you don't, maybe you will. And that's it. Family. Imagine that. Imagine that you didn't like me, predicated on the pigment of my skin. Family. Imagine that. Imagine that when your daughter was 12 years old, your 12-year-old daughter, Mrs. I'm center of the universe, Miss Everybody's beneath me, fuck it, she's cursed too. But imagine that when she was 12 years old, she didn't approach me on the day of Thanksgiving after everybody was done eating and everybody was off digesting their food. And I was trying to make my Irish exit. But imagine that this little kid, 12 fucking years old, didn't come up to me with something that was obviously on her mind. And I'll be honest, I didn't give a finagled flock of fiddling fucks to hear what she had to say, because this kid has always treated the world like she's the center of it. And the only time I've seen her drop that act is when I babysat her when I was 11, 12, and 13 years old. Why is that? I don't know. Maybe Theron's a good influence, but besides that, she came up to me, troubled by something. I could sense it. I could see through her like she was glass. She came up to me and said, "Theron, I have to tell you something." What? Imagine that. She said to me, word for fucking word, "Mom said I'm not allowed to date black people." Wait. She followed that quickly with, "Not like black, like you're black." As her fingers were pointing at me, I knew who she was talking about. We were the only two people in that space. She had a modicum of my attention before. After that, she had my concern. But also, I wasn't concerned because that was expected. Family. Imagine that. Imagine that. 12 years old, and you tell your daughter she's not allowed to date somebody predicated on the pigment of their skin. Meanwhile, she's related to people who have that pigment. Imagine that. Imagine that I wasn't the child of your sister. Imagine that I've always adored the corner of my life that you've never failed to infest. Imagine that I liked you. Imagine that I've never liked you. Imagine that I've always known you have never liked me. Imagine that. Family. Imagine that you are God's gift to this world. Imagine that we're all peasants, dirty fucking people, asking you to throw us soap because you're the only person that could save us. Imagine that. Imagine that. You're a fucking princess. You're a queen. You could do no wrong. God sent you here himself. Imagine that. But who the fuck am I? Clearly, this is just my monkey pigment. I'm an agent of the trees. I should be on the vine swinging. If not that, I'm destined to be in a field picking. Imagine that. Family. Imagine that. No, I know I had the proclivity to rhyme, but where the fuck is my hat tilted to the side, repping the empire, and my 808s and a gun tucked at my waist? Imagine that. Where's the error in my voice? I don't take the accolades for anything, but I know that I'm well-spoken. I know that I have a way with words. I know that my brand is the world into words. But where's the error in my voice? Where's my choir? Where are the collard greens that follow? Where's the cornbread? Where's my God? Why am I saying it like that? God! Where is all that? Am I supposed to sing the by and by on every single Sunday? Should I be sitting up there with my fucking coonery, my bucket of chicken, and my bottle of juice? Imagine that. Nah. Family. This is just my monkey pigment. Imagine that. Fucking disgusting. Godmother. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine that your kids didn't look up to me, and even if they didn't, know that any movement I've made in my life is to show them an honest example. Hard work, dedication, what it can yield as a result. Because the only life that you've showed them is smoke and diamond-plated mirrors, but you have the sweet life, you're the queen, and we're fucking peasants. Imagine that. Imagine that. Family. Imagine that. Imagine that there wasn't a birthday party. That in all fairness, I'll forever be grateful for you being there. Even if I didn't want the party at that particular moment in time because I was still a patient at a hospital, partially confined to a wheelchair. But imagine that months removed from that moment in time, when I got myself out of that hospital, up a flight of stairs, no longer reliant on a wheelchair, no longer looking into the odyssey of life on a boardwalk that I didn't really know how I can move on from there. But imagine that you did call out of nowhere. That happened. But you called to tell me about the computer you bought. Big price, big resolution. You, and you. I know I've said up here before, and I've said in conversations that aren't broadcast on the stage, that I don't ask to be noticed. But the real currency of a thought, you seem to be insufficient in that world. It was always about you. Always, you fucking selfish goblin. But you poised me, you put me on this pedestal to guide your child, your son. Why the fuck would that be my job? Imagine that, Family. When did you ask how I was doing? In moments that I wasn't the greatest, I couldn't be my best self, you cast me out as the devil. Imagine that. Family. And I want to make it abundantly fucking clear. I believe in that. I believe in family. My grandfather, my stepmother, my father, my stepsisters, thank you with love, thank you with love, thank you with love. My best friends, thank you with love. My grandmother, Nana, thank you with love. Family. But am I bitter? No, I'm not bitter. I just had something happen to me that allowed me to see the world without bullshit. That allowed me to see everything and see you as you actually are. How self-serving you have always been. Family. Imagine that. But Theron's a good kid. Theron's a role model. You say that when other people are around, but then after that, Theron just has a monkey pigment. Theron was mean to me. Theron didn't give me the time of his day when I needed it, but I didn't give it to him when he really needed it. Family. Imagine that. Imagine that you asked. Imagine that you were standing over me dying. But then when I wasn't dying, I was still alive. You didn't ask. Imagine that all you did was complain about the noise from the ceiling in the morning because I had a limp that I couldn't control, and standing up in the shower for 5 minutes really aggravated that limp. So when I was walking around in my bedroom and you were sleeping before you had to go to work, imagine that. Imagine that you asked. Imagine that you asked. Imagine that you asked. B-I-G-S-I. No. Imagine that. Imagine that I lived in the fantasy with you. Imagine that I didn't have my reasons to leave after I tried and I tried and I tried and I tried to stay. I tried to stick around. But I was the fool for thinking that the world would change when the world didn't want to change. Imagine that. F-A-M-I-L-Y. Imagine that. My stepsisters, thank you with love. Certain teachers, thank you with love. Random encounters, thank you with love. F-A-M-I-L-Y. Imagine that. It's funny on how I felt that term better utilized for people who I wasn't tethered or bound to by blood. But that doesn't dismiss the ones that I do share DNA with, who I can confidently and honestly say that they are family. No, that doesn't dismiss them, no. My bone is to pick with the ones who showed up when they needed to, or who showed up for the hip hip hurrahs, the la-di-da-di-da and this and that. You weren't there for the truth, you were there to serve yourself. You were there to present yourself as a good person, knowing that that isn't actually you. Imagine that. F-A-M-I-L-Y. Imagine that. Oh, it's 2024. Yee doggy. Imagine that. Where the fuck is my dashiki? Where the fuck is my black beret? Where's my cause to say that we're gonna be all right? Imagine that. F-A-M-I-L-Y. Imagine that. Yeah. Yeah. Let's keep it going. Yeah. All right. What else did I pick from the bucket of who gives a fuck? You give a fuck, you're watching this right now. I'll wait off on this one. Let's pick another one out. What is this? Oh. Do I want to do this today? I guess so. I will. I will. Yep. Okay. The value of new and old love. Love. What is that? Love. If it's not the answer, we'll get to that another day. I'm not going to sit up on this stage, stand up on the stage, yap up on the stage and talk about before and after. That'll get old real quick. You know the gist of it. I was 13, nearly died, and didn't die. I had 2 different lives. Love. And that wasn't a word for either of them. That was much more than just a word. Love. An old love. I searched the world for it. I was young, but I was searching the world for love. Where could I find that? Was it in a friend? Was it in a partner romantically? Was it in some sort of facet of life, whether that be creativity, sports? No. It was something. I needed to love something. I need to have love. I need to believe in love. I'm somebody who's inclined to love you very, very deeply. And that went from the day I understood what love was, and that can be traced back to when I was somewhere in the single digits. I'm inclined to love you very, very deeply. And I was still inclined to love you very, very deeply post May 29, 2015, because I was so starving of that feeling, that pillar of life, love. The value in an old love had to be coupled with a new love. And it became an unfortunate test of sorts to see if that we could still see each other in the same type of light. I remember falling asleep with you, and then I remember not falling asleep with you. I remember making breakfast with you, and then I remember not making breakfast with you. I remember going to your locker and then not knowing where your locker was. Love is somebody who holds on through the worst of it. Love is a friend who knows that you're much more than just friends, but you never have to say that to each other because it's an unspoken agreement that you both have. Love is writing to that friend, not knowing if that letter is going to be delivered to them or if they're ever going to read it. Love is jotting on pages for 7 times, not knowing if he's ever going to wake up again. Love is holding on to hope. not giving up. But love, you can give up. But you got to hold on to that piece of hope, that little shred of that. And be there when you both know the time is right. Love is being given a chance by somebody who I never had to ask permission to be loved by. Love is true fear when death comes into play. But when he's still alive, let the fucking games begin. I remember how you looked in the night. And I remember how we lost the night. And we'll never find it again. And that kills me. Love is trust in you because your eyes told me that I could. Love is the day I turned 12. And I knew I was safe with you. I finally knew that I didn't have to look anymore. Yeah. All right, let's keep rocking. Oh, fuck. Goodnight, Thursday. I do not want to say that. You're the only thing I needed to grasp in the night. And that big, big heart and those hand-painted eyes. Goodnight, Thursday. I don't want to say that. I didn't know I was allowed to be loved as much as you loved me. Up until you, life was about holding on to this anger I didn't want to own, but I knew it was mine. And the only bit of relief I could get was at recess when I had those friends, when we played Foursquare, when we played kickball, or when the summer came around and we had birthday parties, or we went to aquariums or pizza places. But when That was done. I had to wait until the next bit of relief could come. It worked on a clock. It wasn't lasting. It was something that I got every so often, and I could take it for what it was worth when those moments came. And it was worth a lot. And when those moments were done, the anger came back, the disappointment came back, the wonder came back. Ever since I was a kid, I always wondered where I belonged, why I belonged, how I could belong. What happened in 2015 only further exacerbated that. Goodnight Thursday. I don't want to say that. Theron. Hey, bud. Hi. I called you bud. How is everything up in there? I hope you're doing okay. I miss you so much. School isn't the same without you. I miss you every night. I can't read this. Goodnight Thursday. I don't want to say that. There's something about those hand-painted eyes that brings me back to such a better time. But I can't live there in that past. I grew up. I had to grow up. My change was inescapable. I couldn't run from that. But if there was one thing that I sincerely wish I still had from that time, it's Thursday. Goodnight Thursday. I don't want to fall asleep. Yeah. Yeah, it's, what else do we have? Okay. That makes it, what was this, number 3? If you've made it this far, I want to thank you. I want to sincerely thank you for taking the time out of your day and being here and listening and watching however you consume this. I want to thank you. I'll leave you off with this. Until next time, folks. Purveyor of 4 letters. Love is the answer. cut it.